Capricorn, if you're listening to this, it's not by coincidence. Your soul has been nudging you, your spirit has been restless, and the universe has led you here for a reason you'll only understand if you stay with every word. So before we dive in, go ahead and type, "I receive it" in the comments, not later. Now, there's a power in declaring what's already yours, and when you do it publicly, the universe sees that you're not just curious, you are ready, ready to claim, ready to receive. Because what's coming next isn't just a message, it's a holy confirmation. You see, Capricorn, November 3 is not just another day on the calendar. It's not something to glance past as if it's ordinary. No, November 3 is what ancient astronomers believed was a portal day, a day when karmic cycles are completed, when what's been held back for years is suddenly released. And if you're a Capricorn, your name has been written into this energy in a way no one else can claim. Why? Because you weren't built for easy roads. You weren't designed to inherit a blessing without bleeding for it first. Your timeline has always been different, slower, heavier, but also more meaningful. And that's why your blessing has also been customized for depth, not speed. You're not receiving what others get. You're receiving what no one else can carry. Think back on your life, the missed chances, the jobs you stayed in longer than you should have, the friendships you held on to even when they drained you, the inner voice that said, "Wait, you're almost there," while life looked like it was standing still. You didn't know this then, but the universe was clocking every single one of those moments. Capricorn, your delay wasn't a punishment, it was a calculation, because rewards given too early become wasted. You were being seasoned, strengthened, stretched. Like gold in fire. Let me tell you a story. I once heard about a man named Samuel, a Capricorn from a small town in South Africa. For 15 years, he showed up early and stayed late at a job he knew he was overqualified for, working in silence, carrying furniture in a warehouse with a smile. He trained new employees who got promoted while he never got a raise. But Samuel never once complained. He just kept giving his best. And then one day, the unthinkable happened. The company was bought out by a billionaire who visited the warehouse unannounced. He noticed Samuel, noticed his posture, his patience, his energy. Within a week, the new CEO tripled Samuel's salary and made him head of logistics for 3 countries. No degree, no fancy connections, just divine timing. November 3 was the day that letter of promotion arrived. You think that's coincidence? Look around you, look at your life. You've held things together long past the point most people would have walked away. You've fought silent battles no one even knows happened. You've prayed after failure. You've smiled through heartbreak. That's not weakness, that's spiritual endurance. And in the divine realm, endurance is currency. That's why this moment matters. Just like Joseph in the Bible, sold, betrayed, forgotten, he spent 13 years in prison for something he didn't do. But on one single day, he was called into the palace, given authority, and elevated to second in command of an entire nation. One day shifted his entire destiny. One moment carried everything he had endured. And that's how it is with Capricorns. For years, it looks like nothing is happening. Then suddenly, everything happens at once. But here's what most people don't know, and listen carefully, because this is where everything changes. Capricorns don't manifest like everyone else. You don't shout, you don't beg, you don't bargain. Your faith hides itself in your actions, in your consistency. The universe trusts you with power because you've proven you can handle pain. Other signs may get their blessings early, but yours comes seasoned. And on November 3, the heavens remember you. There's one more story you need to hear. A woman named Clarissa, a Capricorn entrepreneur, poured everything into her business. Credit cards maxed, friends calling her delusional, family calling her irresponsible. She had one employee, her daughter, and they both worked from their garage for years. On November 3, 2020, her company's name was mentioned by a world-famous celebrity during an interview. Within 48 hours, she received over 30,000 orders. Now she's supplying products in 18 countries. Clarissa didn't just get a blessing, she received a restoration, confirmation, a lifetime of no turned into a thunderous yes. And if you're still here listening, do something now, because it matters more than you think. Comment "I'm ready" below and tap the like button. Why? Because when you engage, you shift the energy. You align yourself with the message. You show the divine that you're not passive, you're participating. Spiritual rewards don't come to the silent, they come to the aligned. Let's go deeper. Saturn, Capricorn's ruling planet, is known in astrology as the planet of karma and justice. It's slow, it's exact, it observes everything. And on November 3, Saturn, your governor, releases karmic satchels filled with what's been withheld. Not just money, peace, recognition, inheritance. And it doesn't come randomly. It comes to those who have sown what money can't buy. Discipline, loyalty, self-respect. Saturn isn't impressed by your talent. It respects your trials. Even in history, you'll find this pattern. Denzel Washington, Capricorn, didn't get his big break until he was nearly 30. Michelle Obama didn't step into global respect until her late 40s. Muhammad Ali, also Capricorn, was stripped of everything only to return years later as a living legend. Capricorns don't rise fast, they rise forever. There are signs before your blessing hits. Strange signs. You start getting tired for no reason. You begin losing interest in things that once excited you. People fall away, doors close, but it's not because you're done, it's because you're being emptied. Emptied so you can be filled with what belongs to you and only you. Do you feel that now? Don't ignore it, don't numb it. November 3 is the reset, the holy payback, the divine receipt. And if you've been feeling like life has been unusually silent lately, that's because the delivery is being prepared. Destiny doesn't shout when it enters. It stands in front of you and whispers, "You waited well." Watch what happens to those who mocked you, ignored you, wrote you off. Their mouths will open. Their words will fail. Because when God and the universe and karma decide it's your turn, no one else gets a vote. David was anointed king as a teenager, but he didn't step into the throne until decades later. He spent years in caves, running from enemies, having his loyalty questioned. But every cave was preparing him for the crown. Every tear was preparing him for the throne. Every betrayal was giving him the backbone of a king. That's you, Capricorn. You're not behind, you're being built. November 3 is when what's been held back is released. Not because you demanded it, because you've earned it. And the reward, Capricorn, is closer than you think. Capricorn, you stayed, and that alone tells me everything I need to know. You weren't waiting for entertainment. You were waiting for confirmation. You were waiting for that voice, this voice, to tell you that what you've been feeling all along wasn't a mistake, wasn't a delusion, wasn't just hope. It was preparation, and that preparation is about to make sense. But before we go further, I need you to do something with intention. Type, "My breakthrough is here" in the comments, not for me, for you, because words spoken are energy released, and energy released becomes doors opened. Every time you write, every time you declare, every time you even like a message that aligns with your spirit, your energy shifts. You start calling in what was once drifting away from you. You activate an ancient principle, where focus goes, power flows, so go ahead. Do it now, don't wait to claim what's already forming in your favor. Now I need you to think back, not to the good moments, to the ones that broke you, the ones that made you question whether God was still watching, the job you poured yourself into until the day they replaced you overnight, the relationship that left you cold and shaking but still they blamed you, the season where every door you tried to open was locked and every prayer you whispered seemed unanswered. You thought those were losses, but in realms beyond your sight, those moments were being balanced, weighed, stored up. Like interest, and interest is always paid back with more than you gave. Let me tell you a story. In 2018, a woman named Caroline, a Capricorn nurse from Canada, was fired for a mistake she didn't commit. She was humiliated, blacklisted, and broke. For 2 years, she survived on savings, facing depression, anxiety, and legal threats. But she didn't give up. She prayed, she read scripture, she cried, but she stayed soft. On November 3, 2022, the hospital admitted, with an apology, that she had been wrongfully terminated. They settled out of court, and Caroline received 3 times her lost salary, plus lifetime rights to a home near the hospital grounds. Her pain didn't end in apology. It ended in abundance. Think about that. What was taken was returned. What was interrupted was restored. Better, stronger, heavier with purpose. And the universe isn't just doing this for a select few, it's doing it for you. You've always been the one people overlooked, the one they assumed would never be the star. But what they didn't know is that Capricorn isn't built to shine for applause. You're built to shine for purpose. You don't glow to be seen, you glow to lead. That's why your path was heavier. That's why divine timing was strict with you. You were being shaped into someone who would carry something bigger than comfort. Even the Bible confirms this. Job lost everything, family, health, wealth overnight. But what happened? His restoration wasn't equal, it was doubled. Not only that, his latter days were blessed more than his beginnings. And this is the pattern Capricorn is matched to. The more intense the warfare, the more lavish the reward. So what do you think your pain means? You think your heartbreak was an ending? No, it was a clearing. You think the betrayal was rejection? No, it was release. You think the silence was abandonment? No, it was saturation, the universe letting everything else go quiet so you could finally hear what's meant for you. And it's funny, isn't it? How right before something powerful happens in your life, all hell breaks loose. Your phone goes silent, people disappear, your spirit feels empty. You start questioning if you're even on the right path. But listen, Capricorn, silence before breakthrough is not punishment, it's positioning. In Hollywood, there's a famous story about a Capricorn director named Ava DuVernay. She didn't direct her first film until she was 32, didn't make a feature film until she was 40. At 42, she became the first black woman to win Sundance. Little did the world know, she'd been writing scripts in silence for years. The world didn't hear her until the world was ready to need her. That's you. You didn't miss your calling, you were being carved for it. You didn't lose your blessing, it was growing invisible roots. What you thought was delay was incubation. And now the time is ripe. But let me tell you something critical, something people don't want to hear. When your season of return comes, not everyone can go with you. Some of the people you're trying to save are the ones who broke your spirit. Some of the places you're fighting to stay in are the reasons you're suffocating. Even Jesus had to leave Nazareth to become the Christ the world knows. Even David had to step out of the fields to take down Goliath. Even Joseph had to be pulled out of the prison to receive the keys to the kingdom. Why? Because the same rooms that wounded you cannot hold the reward waiting for you. You've been asking for a miracle, but miracles need space. Space in your mind, space in your environment, space in your heart. So don't fear the emptying, it's proof the outpour is near. And now we're at a point that matters more than anything before. There's a reason you're here, still listening, still breathing, still waiting. You're not weak, you're chosen, but let me tell you what's coming. There's a financial blessing tied to your past labor. Something you did, something small, something you forgot about, is about to resurface. There's a name of a person you once trusted, who will be forced to watch your rise in silence. A door that was never open to people like you is going to swing open, not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. And here's the truth few will admit. The universe doesn't release blessings according to worthiness, it releases according to readiness. And Capricorn, whether you feel it or not, you are now ready. But don't just listen, respond. Right now, tell the universe you're awake. Say, I'm aligned in the comments. Double tap the energy. Share this message with another Capricorn, not because I said so, but because when you give what you want to receive, you become the magnet you've been praying to find. And there's still more. So much more. Because there's one truth that changes everything. And it's coming. But you're not ready for it. Not just yet. Capricorn, you came back, and that alone tells me something supernatural is unfolding around you. You don't return to a message like this unless your spirit knows there's more truth, more revelation, more confirmation. And you're right, there is. But before I go deeper, do something that aligns your spirit with what's coming. Type, I claim what's mine in the comments. Don't wait, don't doubt, don't overthink. Your words are a signal, a declaration to the unseen that you're not just listening, you're participating in your own breakthrough. Now let me tell you something hauntingly beautiful. The most painful chapters of your life weren't written by accident, they were assignments. Silent ones, timed ones. The nights you cried, the days you pretended, the relationships that fell apart so painfully, all of those were part of a divine contract your soul agreed to before you even knew what would break you. And isn't it strange how you kept going even when nothing was changing? That wasn't stubbornness. That was destiny refusing to let go of you. But hear what nobody ever told you. Capricorns don't get rewarded for hustling. They get rewarded for surviving. And you've survived things most people wouldn't even understand. You suffered in silence because you knew no one would believe how deep the pain ran. And that silence wasn't a curse, it was a shield. Because while you were breaking on the outside, your spirit was storing power on the inside. Let me prove it with a true story. A Capricorn named Emmanuel from London spent 10 years trying to become a music producer. Every label said no, every competition rejected him. His own friends started calling his dream impossible. At one point, he was homeless, sleeping on a friend's studio floor, but something in him said, "Don't quit, don't collapse." He kept creating, he kept serving. One day, a young artist on TikTok used one of Emmanuel's beats, and it went viral overnight. Within 72 hours, his life changed. Record deals, sponsorships, interviews. By the end of the year, he bought his mother a house. People called it luck, but Emmanuel said, "I was being prepared in private for a public reward." You think your private pain didn't matter? Watch what God does with it in public. But here is where things get deeper. You ever notice how everything starts going wrong right before something big is about to happen? Your energy feels drained. Your plans fall through. Relationships you thought were meant forever suddenly break. That's not sabotage. That's spiritual realignment. Because sometimes the universe has to strip you of what's familiar to prepare you for what's promised. Take Oprah Winfrey, a Capricorn queen, fired from her first TV job, told she was unfit for television, humiliated by people who couldn't see beyond her pain. But what happened? She built a platform they could never stand on. A woman who carried the weight of abuse and rejection became one of the most influential women in history. You can't cancel a Capricorn, you can only cleanse them. You've been wondering why people you loved drifted away, why certain doors closed, why life has felt quieter, darker, slower. But listen, that emptiness wasn't abandonment, it was space. Space for something divine to enter, space for energies that match your next level. You didn't lose anything, you were being protected from what couldn't go where you're going. Even in scripture, this pattern repeats. Moses was born to be a deliverer, but he spent years in exile. Joseph was anointed for greatness, but spent time in dungeons. David was crowned in spirit, but exiled in caves. Every Capricorn lives this same rhythm: isolation before elevation, heartbreak before breakthrough, endings before arrivals. Capricorn, your soul doesn't walk paths, it climbs mountains. And mountain climbers always move slow, painful, disciplined, unseen. But what happens when they reach the top? The view belongs to them. The air belongs to them. The victory belongs to them. And the world watches in awe. But don't just listen. Respond. Right now, write "I'm climbing higher" in the comments. Double tap. Share this story with another Capricorn. Why? Because what you release multiplies, and what you give flows back to you. That's not superstition, it's spiritual law. Now let's peel back another layer, a prophetic one. There's a reason the devil fought your peace so hard. He knew what was tied to your patience. He knew if you ever healed, if you ever stood up again, if you ever realized how chosen you are, it would threaten everything that tried to break you. Some of you don't even realize this. Someone watched you in your lowest moment and still felt threatened by your potential. You didn't lose your glow. It was covered so your enemies couldn't steal it. But listen closely, because this is where everything shifts. The same people who doubted you will need you. The same doors that shut on you will open without you knocking. The same pain that almost killed you will be the story that saves somebody else. And Capricorn, when your restoration arrives, it will not be quiet. A woman named Teresa, a Capricorn from Nigeria, spent 7 years trying to conceive a child. She watched as others had Barbies while she hid her tears. Doctors told her it was impossible. One day she said, "God, if you ever bless me, I'll share it with the world." On November 3, 2021, she gave birth to triplets, 3 children, 3 promises, 3 restorations in one moment. Her pain didn't just end, it tripled into praise. And now there's something you need to hear, something few will understand, something I didn't plan to say, but your spirit is asking for it. The reason you're still breathing is because you're not done. The reason you didn't die in that depression is because your light hadn't been used yet. The reason life pushed you to the edge was to show you what you're really made of. You're not fragile. You're not forgotten. You're not late. You're loaded. And sooner than you think, something you've been secretly praying for will locate you, not because you chased it, but because you became the version of yourself that could carry it. You felt spiritual contractions, emotional shifts, ego deaths. These weren't coincidences. They were signs. Can't you feel it? Something about to happen, something you can't explain but can't ignore either. And before the truth is revealed, I need to prepare you, because what's coming next will explain everything you've been through. Every tear, every betrayal, every delay, every night you held yourself together in silence. But you're not ready to hear it. Not just yet. Capricorn, you didn't get here by chance. You didn't click on this message because you were bored or curious. Your soul pulled you here. Your spirit knew something was waiting in the vibration of these words, something meant to unlock what's been buried in your life for years. And if your heart is already racing, if your skin is tingling, if something inside you is whispering, "This is for me," then you're right where you need to be. Before we go deeper, I need you to respond. Type "I am ready for my release" in the comments, not because I asked, but because your spirit is claiming territory in the unseen. Let's begin with a truth the world seldom speaks. Capricorn lives life with a weight no one else can see. People look at you and think you're strong because you don't break publicly. They assume you're fine because you show up like nothing is falling apart. But what they don't know is that you've held yourself together in rooms where you could have shattered. You've slept beside pain and still found the strength to wake up and face the day. You've been your own healer, your own savior, your own comforter. And the universe took note. Every tear you cried in secret, every storm you survived without applause, every time you had to rebuild from scratch, without help, without validation, without a map. But listen, survival was never the end of your story. Survival is the ground, but rising is your harvest. Let me tell you about a man named Andrew, a Capricorn from Jamaica, raised in poverty, raised around violence. But he had a dream to create a music school for kids who couldn't afford instruments. For 11 years he hustled, worked 3 jobs, sacrificed sleep. Most days he ate 1 meal. People laughed. They told him he was insane, that dreams like his don't work where he comes from. Then one day his fundraiser page was shared by a stranger. That stranger had over 14 million followers. Within 48 hours, his school was fully funded. Not only that, he was flown to New York to receive an award from a global charity. Today, there are 137 instruments in his school, and not one child pays a dime to learn music. 11 years of silence. 2 days of sudden breakthrough. 1 life forever changed. Capricorn, this is the energy on your life. Not fast, but forever. Not quick, but certain. And it's about to show itself again. You've probably been feeling strange things lately. Sudden waves of sadness, bursts of clarity, random memories resurfacing, deep fatigue out of nowhere. That's not a breakdown, that's a spiritual detox. You're being emptied of what can't go with you. Let go, don't fight it. Something massive is trying to enter your life, and it can't land on crowded ground. Let's rewind to the Bible. Do you remember Ruth, a widow, a foreigner, a woman whose life looked like it was over? But instead of being bitter, she stayed faithful. She worked the fields of harvest even when her heart was broken. And one day the owner of the fields, Boaz, noticed her. He gave her favor, protection, provision. And Ruth, a woman who lost everything, eventually became the great-grandmother of King David. Her grief was temporary, her legacy eternal. Capricorn, how many fields have you worked in sorrow? How many nights have you stayed loyal to people who didn't see you? How many jobs, relationships, prayers, sacrifices have you made with a heart full of pain and a soul full of hope? You think God didn't see that. You think the universe forgot. No, your Boaz is coming. Your harvest is forming. Your name is being whispered in places you've never stepped into. And there's nothing more dangerous than a Capricorn built by storms. Because when your blessing arrives, it won't just bless you, it'll bless the generations after you. The same way opera opened doors for others. The same way Denzel Washington funded unknown actors. the same way Tyler Perry built a studio on land where slaves were once chained. Capricorns don't just win, they rewrite the definition of victory. But let me remind you of something beautiful and painful. Not everyone who started with you will celebrate what's coming next. Some people were only with you because you were quiet, because you were struggling, because your light was dim enough not to outshine theirs. Let me tell you a story about Alicia, a Capricorn from Chicago. She had a friend who stayed close to her during her hardest years. They shared apartments, meals, sadness, but the moment Alicia got a publishing deal for her book, that friend turned cold, stopped replying, started talking behind her back. Eventually, Alicia learned the truth. That friend never loved her, she loved her sadness. Some people don't hate your success, they hate your healing. Watch who disappears. Watch who claps slowly. Watch who goes silent when your name begins to rise. And Capricorn here, where it gets personal, it's okay. It's not your job to drag them with you. It's not your mission to convince them. Some souls were only meant to walk with you through darkness so you could see what companionship without love feels like. You had to learn the difference between allies and attachments. But don't let that make you bitter. Let it make you wise, because someone new is coming, someone who speaks your spiritual language, someone who doesn't feel threatened by your strength, someone who sees your wounds and doesn't try to use them, someone who recognizes your worth without needing proof. You're not meant to walk this next season alone. Remember Moses, even he needed an Aaron. Remember Esther, she had Mordecai. Even Jesus had 12 disciples, and yet, even he knew when to dismiss the crowd. Not everyone can stay. But what's coming is worth the people who left. What's coming is louder than the silence that crushed you. What's coming is greater than the prayers that seemed unanswered. And if you're still here listening, let your soul do something bold. Type, "I welcome my divine reward" in the comments, and then breathe. Because that declaration is not just a sentence, it's a signal, a spiritual marker, a moment in time where heaven hears you giving consent to what destiny has been waiting to deliver. You know what's wild? Some of you have already seen the signs. You had a dream, you saw a number, you felt a shift. Someone spoke your name in a way that made your spirit stop. That wasn't random, that was just weird. That was confirmation. Something rising. Something returning. Something promised. Something delayed, now delivered. And if your spirit isn't trembling yet, it will. Because the most important revelation, the one everything has been building toward, the truth that will change how you see your past, present, and future, is still waiting, just beyond the edge of what you thought you knew. Your heart has been carrying a weight you don't speak about, Capricorn. You wear your strength like armor, but deep inside, you've been waiting for a sign that your journey hasn't been in vain. This is that sign. Before we continue, take a moment. If you're hearing this right now, it's not by accident. Tap the like button, because it's time to declare that something divine is aligning for you. Subscribe if you feel the pull, because what I'm about to share will unlock things in you that no one else ever understood until now. This message isn't just something you watch, it's something you live. Let's begin. There comes a moment in every Capricorn's life where the silence grows louder than any noise, where even your victories feel empty because they came with too much sacrifice. You've been there, smiling in a room full of people while your soul is screaming for recognition, not just for what you've done, but for who you've become. And yet, like a hidden warrior, you kept going, even when all signs pointed to giving up. That's why November 3 is calling your name. It's the day your destiny says, enough. It's your turn. You've lived like Joseph in the Bible, haven't you? Misunderstood, unappreciated, betrayed by those who should have lifted you up. You spent years in a season that felt like a prison, surrounded by people who couldn't see the greatness resting silently inside you. But Joseph didn't know that the pit was his path to the palace. You didn't either, not until now. That's why your pain wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. Someone needs to type, "I receive this," in the comments, because your wait is almost over. But here's what they don't tell you. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it sits quietly, like Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat. calm, steady, unmoved. That decision changed history, just like your decisions are changing your own story, day by day, silently, even when no one's watching. Do you feel that? The quiet revolution happening inside your spirit. You've been planting seeds in secret, and November 3 is the day your harvest breaks ground. Don't click away now. Your spirit already knows this is the message you were meant to hear. Let me tell you about Tom Brady, drafted 199th, overlooked, undervalued. People thought he was just another face in the crowd until he proved he was the face of a dynasty. Capricorn, you are the dynasty. Your story wasn't meant to make sense right away. The long nights, the disappointments, the betrayals, all of it was shaping the kind of soul that doesn't collapse when life demands more. It's time to type "I'm ready" below if you know this is your confirmation. Don't forget how Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Can you imagine? The greatest of all time wasn't even considered good enough. But rejection was the door that opened his obsession. Obsession became destiny. Capricorn, what rejected you was actually redirecting you. What broke you was building the version of you that even the universe respects. There's a reason you always felt older than your age, like time treated you differently. You entered rooms with wisdom that wasn't taught, it was carried. You kept your head high when life was out to humble you. Capricorn, that's not just discipline, it's spiritual maturity. It's a sign that you were born with something ancient in your bones, something that can't be destroyed, only awakened. And if you're still listening right now, it's because your awakening has already begun. Let me share a real story. A woman named Clara Capricorn worked in the same job for 15 years, overlooked, underpaid. But one day she finally decided she was done playing small. She walked away, and in less than 6 months she owned her own online business. In less than a year she was making 6 figures, not because she suddenly got lucky, but because life was just waiting on her to take the first step. Sometimes the holy reward isn't a miracle falling from the sky. Sometimes it's the moment you finally step into a version of yourself that can receive what's been waiting for you. Now let's go deeper. I want to share something most people overlook, the power of alignment. The Bible says to everything there is a season. You've been in your winter season for far too long, but the mistake most people make is assuming winter means the end. No, winter is where the roots grow. Winter is where the soul strengthens. Winter is where the hidden work happens. Capricorn, November 3 is the start of your spring, but here's the twist. Your harvest won't just be material, it's spiritual. Emotional, energetic. This reward will turn doubters into believers, not because you speak it, but because you embody it. But let's not sugarcoat the truth. Some of the people closest to you aren't ready for your elevation. They loved you more when you needed them, when your energy fed them, when your silence kept them safe. But the new you, the one emerging now, you don't fit in their small story anymore, and that's okay. Some of the hands that once helped you rise are the same hands that will try to hold you back. That's why discernment is your shield. Discernment is your power. Don't apologize for outgrowing the ones who never planned to grow with you. Let me take you back to King David, anointed as a boy, king in the spirit, servant in reality. He killed Goliath, but still played the harp in a palace that didn't yet belong to him. Capricorn, you've been living in places beneath your calling, all while holding the strength of a king or queen, and that's the real test. Can you stay humble in the hallway? Can you stay loyal while overlooked? Because the throne was always yours, but the timing was. The most powerful people aren't the ones who rise fast. They're the ones who rise steady, the ones who have been tested and retested and still stayed kind, the ones who have seen betrayal but chose peace, the ones who were lied to but kept their truth. Capricorn, that's you. That's why November 3 isn't random. It's the holy day written into your timeline before you ever took your first breath. Your story is unfolding like a divine mystery. Every wrong turn, every closed door, every storm you survived was a chapter designed to reveal something unbeatable inside you. And the people who tried to bury you, they didn't know you were a seed. There's something you need to do now. Claim your space, not with arrogance, but with certainty. Type, "I claim this energy" below if you're done shrinking, if you're done settling. November 3 isn't just a date, it's a vibration. It's a shift in the spirit that says the ones who stayed faithful in the shadows are about to shine in ways that will shake the room. Listen, you didn't come this far to watch someone else live your blessing. You didn't walk through fire just to sit in someone else's shade. This is your season, but it won't reveal itself to the hesitant. The reward is for the bold, the consistent, the resilient, the aligned. If you're still listening, you're one of them, so let your spirit answer for you. There's a moment coming where the thing you prayed for will stand right in front of you, not because you begged for it, but because you became the version of yourself God always intended. The version that's trusted with the blessings no one else could carry. But before I tell you what's coming, I need you to prepare, because what's unfolding isn't small, it's not quiet, it's not ordinary, and when it arrives, you'll understand why every delay, every heartbreak, every night you wondered why me, was part of a plan bigger than you ever imagined. You might think you've heard everything, but the real revelation, it hasn't been spoken yet.